Welcome to this Total Office Manager software demonstration. I'm James Leichter. Now we could spend a lot of time demoing this software program, hours in fact, and still only cover the basics of the software. What I'm going to try to do is show you how the software looks, how it feels, what it might be able to do for your company, to give you a better idea if Total Office Manager is the right software for you. Let's start by looking at the menu system. This is your standard drop-down menu system, customizable menu system. I think it's laid out in a very logical manner. I say logical. I'm biased, I'll admit that, but I think the software is very easy to navigate. Things are very intuitive. They're where you'd expect them to be. There are about 650 forms inside Total Office Manager. So if I were to open up each one of these forms, we would cover over 650 forms. That's a lot of forms. It's a very big software program. Easy to get started with, doing your basics like entering invoices, entering bills, paying bills, but there's a lot of advanced features that you can grow into over time. Everything related to the company, customers, vendors has its own menu. Anything related to payroll and employees, banking has its own menu. So it's easy to find things. You want to write checks, you go to banking, write checks. Those of you that own QuickBooks, you're going to be very comfortable with this software in a short period of time because the menu system looks a lot like what you're already used to. So let me give you an example. We would go in QuickBooks, if you wanted to enter a bill, we would go to Vendors, Enter Bills, or Control B. It's the same thing in Total Office Manager. Doing so will open up a form that probably looks a lot like what you're already used to. You can select a form, you can select a vendor from the list, and it's easy to fill out. We're going to grab a purchase order here. So this is what you're already used to. Here we're entering a bill for refrigerant. There's just some extra bells and whistles that are contractor specific, and that's what this software is, very specific to the contracting industry. So you're going to find a lot of features in the software that you were probably hoping to see. Now, reports are very intensive. We have a lot of reports. There are about 390 reports in the software program. We have most of your basic accounting reports. I say most of your basic accounting reports. I guess we could debate what is basic and what should be part of an accounting system, but I think you're going to find all of the accounting related reports that you're probably expecting in an enterprise level accounting program. But in addition to that, you're going to find a lot of proprietary reports. These are reports that probably only a contractor would think of. Only a contractor like us would realize that you want to know what your sales are per technician, per foreman, per salesperson. You're going to want to analyze your invoices for profitability. You're going to want to analyze sales by customer or by marketing source or by region. Sales by region is an interesting report. That would allow you to find out what city, zip code, neighborhood is performing the best. These are things that contractors are going to find indispensable in managing their company. So there are a lot of reports. Most of these reports can be customized to one degree or another. There's ways to build your own reports. There's ways to build reports in Excel. I'm going to show you some of those things as we go on. I'm just scrolling through the report navigator here so that you can see just how many reports are in the software. Now there's also a lot of ways to measure financial ratios and key performance indicators. There's lots of summary reports. Probably my favorite report rather is the executive summary report. This report was designed for an owner, a general manager, to give them a quick snapshot, 3 pages of what's going on in their company. So as you can see, we know instantly how much cash we have on hand, AR, AP. We know today's sales, yesterday's sales, this week's sales, this month's sales, all of which is compared to the prior year. We know what some of our important ratios are. We can see cash inflows and outflows for the next 7 days, how many customers were added today, how many service agreements, how many service calls were added. We have a 3-paragraph financial synopsis that you can see here. This will show you your profitability, your cash flow, and other things. You'll see your top top marketing, top salespeople, top selling inventory items. There is a really handy super condensed income statement that you can see here. This quickly shows you your annual income, overhead, gross profit margin, net profit, compares all of it to the prior year. Now there's other reports like this for your sales managers, for your bookkeepers. The bookkeeper has a really handy report that can be anywhere from say 5 to 10 pages in length depending on your setup. This allows your bookkeepers to see things that are important to them, such as which bank accounts have not been reconciled, certain security problems that may exist in the program, sales tax that needs to be paid, payroll liabilities that need to be paid, service agreements that are about to expire. One nice thing about most of our reports, they do have drill down capability. So if you see something like insurance coverage and you're more interested in this, double click on it and you get another report explaining what that meant, and you can double click again and again until the program will take you to the original record that started it all. And here we happen to be in a vendor's record. You can see the vendor information here. Under the additional info tab, we're showing you that their general liability and their workers' comp have expired, so we need to address that. Lots and lots of reports. And I'll show you in just a little while how you can build some of your own reports and export information of your choice into Microsoft Excel. Some of the key performance indicators and financial ratios in your company are obviously very important to you. You can look at some of those here in the financial ratio analysis form. This shows you some of the hot numbers off your income statement and your balance sheet. You'll be able to look at your company's profit ratios. Obviously, green is good, red is bad. We show you the math behind the ratio. We show you the industry average. We show you what the difference is. This is very well documented, by the way. This feature and what it all means is very well documented. You can see your solvency ratios, your company's efficiency ratios. Are you spending too much on labor? You can see your company's labor ratios and find out if maybe you are spending too much on field labor or office labor, or both. We even have Professor Altman's Z-score algorithm. If you haven't heard of it, this is a proven 2-year bankruptcy predictor. It also gives your managers a final grade card on how well your company is performing. So there's lots of features like that built in. Lots of tools, in fact, that I really don't have time to get into. If we had more time, I'd show you the mapping feature, the marketing list generator. Some of the other database utilities that are built into the program are very handy for doing batch updates and batch changes and scanning for common accounting problems and so forth. We should talk a little bit about help and technical support. Probably saw more information about that earlier in our slide presentation, but the one thing I do want to show you is the outstanding help system that's built into this program. Anytime you open up a form, the only thing you need to do is push F1 on your keyboard and you will get a complete help topic on that particular form. Here we are, we're writing a check. You want to know more about writing a check, push F1 on your keyboard, and you're going to get an excellent detailed help topic on that particular feature. Let's say you're filling out a work order and you want to know more about filling out work orders, push F1 on your keyboard, and you can see here we have a detailed help topic on work orders. Now let me show you the help topic. This help topic is indicative of most of the help topics in the program. First of all, we introduce you to the feature and give you an overview of what it does. We tell you different ways to get to that form. We then define for you every field, every button, every single element of this form is explained. So you see something on the form that you don't understand, such as duration or service agreement or planned maintenance. You can read about every single field, every button, every annoying message box. Everything is explained to you. The help topics are very detailed. Now, when it comes to an important help topic like work orders, we also include for you a video. In fact, we have about 120 videos on this software program, and we are adding new videos all the time. So if you would like to know how to use this feature, simply click this video. It's built right into the system. and you can watch that video and learn how to use the software. Anytime you're ready, you can also print out the help topic, and you can have the help topic in front of you as you're watching the video. There's something else I'd like to show you, and that is an example of the manuals that come with our software. Unlike a lot of programs these days, our software has very good manuals. They are current, they are updated constantly. Just like our help system, our manuals are full of screenshots, full of examples on how to do things. You can print this manual out anytime you like. You can have as many copies as you want. You can see that this is the Quick Start Guide, 107 pages. We also have manuals on installing the software, setting up the software. We have accounting manuals and so forth. So the software program, Total Office Manager, is very well documented. You know, as long as I have this check open, let me show you something. You can have multiple forms opened at the same time. That's unusual. Try this in your present accounting program. Try to open up an accounting form like a check and then open up another one. You'll probably find that you can't. Most software programs force you to close the form before you can open another. In Total Office Manager, you can start filling out a check like we're doing here, and then go to another check, and you can copy and paste from one check or another. You can have just about as many of these forms opened at a given time as you'd like. You'll also notice that this program is running very quickly. You can see, even though I'm opening up multiple checks, and these lists are pre-populated. So I'll show you some of the lists here. You have your chart of accounts, you have your item list, you have your warehouse list. Let me make this a little bigger. Your list of warehouses, your list of customers and jobs. All of these lists are pre-populated. But the form still opens very quickly. And again, look at all these forms that I have open, and the software is still moving very quickly. Let's say I wanted to add an item. I could add an item, open up another one and another one. And the program's very fast. Actually, there's several of these opened right now, as you can see. Like I said, try that in your present program. I bet you'll find that you can't do that. Let me go ahead and close some of these forms though, so it's not such a mess to look at. Say no to that. No to those changes. Close that. Close that. You've probably seen these workflow navigators here. This is a very handy form, especially when you're a beginner in the software, because it shows you the most commonly used forms, reports, and lists. All of these buttons are live, so when you click on a button to enter a new customer, it's live. It takes you right there, and again, you've got your help system available to you. You want to fill out a work order, you can do that here. All of those buttons are live, and you can see they're categorized by topic. One nice thing about the Workflow Navigator is it shows you how information flows in the program, what needs to be done and in what order. This is the information center here on the left-hand side. You can see that it gives us quick access to things that might be important to us. Now, I'm currently logged in as Ashley Adams, the company dispatcher. You can also, by the way, log in multiple times. I actually have the software program running multiple times. Here I'm logged in as the administrator. Now, this is a completely new instance of the software. This program will allow you to have multiple instances of it running at once. And again, you probably can't do that with your present program. You probably can't open it and minimize it and open it again. So anyway, we're about to talk about phone messages. Here's your phone messages. This is a great feature in the software. I know most of us have voicemail these days, but one thing you can do with Total Office Manager is take a good old-fashioned message. But you can do it very quickly and efficiently. When someone calls in, you can open up a blank phone message. I clicked the wrong button. There it is. You can open up a blank phone message. You can select what employee this belongs to. You can select what vendor, what employee, what customer's calling in. The program will fill out as much of the message as it can for you. You can type in your message, you can select your boxes, and then when you save the phone message, it will instantly appear on their computer. Even if they're logged in from home or from a vehicle, it will appear on their computer. If you have our mobile software, when you save this message, it will appear on their iPad, their iPhone, or other smartphone device that's connected to the database. You also can print the phone message, but you probably will never have to because you can page it, text it, or email it out to them. And when you do, the program will record the fact that you have sent that message out to them and when. So the message is now out of your hands. You've taken the phone message, you've sent it to them in the field, your job's over with. If you had any appointments today, they'd be listed here. So obviously appointments are built into Total Office Manager. You don't need any other software to manage your appointments. Even your personal appointments can be marked as private and kept within the program. By the way, when they're marked as private, nobody can read them. So you can enter as many appointments as you want. Appointments can reoccur. Appointments can be set up for multiple people. You can have alarms and reminders. And just like the phone messages, when you save an appointment, it instantly appears on their computer, their smartphone, their iPhone, their Droid, their iPad, whatever they have connected to the database. You also, of course, can page it, text it, email it, or print it. You might have noticed, by the way, the menus look fairly similar. We've done that on purpose. We've tried to make most facets of the software operate the same way. That way, when you learn one feature, you're learning other features as well. Now, Ashley also has a work order today that needs her attention, so I can click the work order, open it up, see what we're doing. Also, I just happened to notice we have a bunch of reminders down here. Let me explain that feature real quick. You can set up alarms and reminders. Anything from, say, a company meeting to an invoice that needs to be prepared, a bill that needs to be paid. Maybe it's simply service agreements that need your attention. So here we have service agreements that need to be renewed. We need to get on the phone to renew these. Now, when you set up a reminder, you can have that reoccur on a schedule of your choice. You can set up reminders for multiple people very quickly, just like you can with work orders and appointments. And when that reminder goes off, you guessed it, they'll see it on their smartphone or whatever device they have connected. Now, the last thing I probably ought to show you here before we move on is users logged on. Right now, we have 21 computers logged into this database. You can see that it's easy for you to look and find out who is logged into the database. You can click on any one of them and see their activity. The software does keep track of everything everyone does in the program. Every footstep they take is recorded meticulously to this audit trail. You will be able to see the date, the time, the action that they took, the username, the record they were in, the form they were using, version numbers of the software, the computer they were logged in on, and if they did anything unusual, such as backdated something or post-dated something or adjusted the quantity of something, you'll see notes whenever the program deems it important. Now, only the boss can see that, by the way, or anyone that the boss wants to be able to see it. It being the audit trail. No, I'm not going to save my appointment. So let's close the Information Center. You can open that anytime you'd like. The one thing I do want to show you is the optional caller ID system. Here's how it works. Whenever your phone rings, you just simply push a button to open that record. So here we have telephone callers, people calling into the company, and we simply need to push a button to add new records, to access history, things such as that. You can see here that the caller ID feature will show you if a customer is calling, a vendor's calling, an employee's calling. You'll see quickly if they have a service agreement. You'll know the date, the time, the phone number, the phone line. Do they have financial history? Do they owe you money? Are they past due? Are they on credit hold? This form, by the way, is customizable, So you can show additional information. You can rearrange these columns if you'd like to. You can set it up so that you can see sales leads and other info. There's also a unique pronounced field here that I like. So you can see this person, James Lichter, however you say that guy's name. You can see he called in. Well, how do we pronounce the name? It's liked her, and apparently he doesn't go by Jim. Now that would be important when he calls up, so you don't crucify his name or get his first name wrong. Let's right click and look at some of the options available to us. We can quickly go into their history. Let's do that. This single form shows us everything there is to know about this particular customer, job, client, prospect. By the way, this pop-up note is telling us that they're on credit hold. Those can be turned off and on. It's your choice. Here you can see every sale this person has ever made, every work order we've ever filled out, every service agreement they've ever owned, every piece of equipment we've ever worked on. You can double click on a piece of equipment and you can see things like the make, model number, serial number, manufacturer, install date, the date it was in service, the date taken out of service. You can see basic and extended warranty information. You can see a picture of the piece of equipment if you'd like to. You can go into the document links and you can link this piece of equipment up with schematic diagrams, sales literature, technical information. You also have the ability to search the internet for this particular piece of equipment. I'm going to do that right now. It'll take me out on the internet, and there it is. And there it is, and I can even download that brochure, drag it and drop it on that piece of equipment, and I've got the information I wanted. You also can see a complete repair history on this piece of equipment. It's easy to find out every part that's ever been installed on this piece of equipment. Every bit of history on this piece of equipment is available to you with just a few mouse clicks. Any checks you've ever written the person, every payment you've ever received, and again, if it's not obvious, all of these things can be double clicked on if you want to see details. Here, for those of you who do accounting, these are your adjusting journal entries, item aliases, purchase orders. Every purchase order you've ever filled out for this customer is just a click away. You can see every piece of information in the general ledger, general journal, appointments, estimates, proposals, phone messages, even AI payment applications. There's also a unique contact log. This allows you to see, and you're seeing the pop-up notes that you can turn off, this allows you to see in chronological order everything you've ever done with this particular customer. Every marketing piece, every piece of sales literature, every reminder letter, every renewal letter, every complaint, every accolade, everything you've ever done with this person. You're trying to collect money, you'll see the notes. You told them that they had a carbon monoxide leak, or you red tagged the furnace, you'll see those notes. Here we see red tag the furnace. All right, so that's an issue, red tag the furnace. Now these notes can be sorted, filtered, exported, printed out. They are easily searchable. Let me show you an example of that. Let's open up the search utility and let's type in red tagged, and I'll search for red tagged because we saw that earlier, and in fact we not only have it in once but we have it in twice. So it's showing you, let me close that, it's showing you two instances of red tagged, and if you want to open it, just simply click that button and it will open that particular form and you'll see the note about red tag the furnace. So it's really easy to go find notes in the database. Now I hadn't planned on taking you through this search utility, but it's very advanced. It allows you to search every corner of the database for phrases, words, letters, numbers, all kinds of different things. Basically, if you don't know where to look, this is the place to go, and Total Office Manager's Advanced Search Utility will find it. So I could talk more about the caller ID. I do want to say it is an option. It does cost extra, so be sure to talk to us about the caller ID feature. Couple more things that I ought to show you before we move on. When you right click, you've got a lot of shortcuts like adding a new customer or vendor. If they have never called before, that would be available to you and you can do a quick add. But when they have called before, you can look at their history, open up their information to read it or edit it. You can see any documents you might have associated with this person, such as scanned invoices, service agreements, other records. You can quickly add a work order, a phone message, an appointment. You can do a web search on this person. When you do go to add a record, of course, it's going to fill it out for you. It's going to fill out as much of that information out as possible. So you know what? I should go ahead and finish that example. Let's say the person calls in and asks for a salesman, someone they're working with. They're not available. Will you take a message for me? He asks. Right click and do a new phone message. Fill out the phone message like you saw me do earlier and send it to him as an email, a text message, or if he's connected with a smartphone or a computer, just click save and he'll see that phone message instantly. And the nice thing about doing it that way is you have a record of it. So there's a few other things we can do here, but I ought to move on. Remember, caller ID is an option. Everything else I showed you today is built into the software. Let's open up our customer job list. This is an important form, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this. The customer job list is a very important, very powerful form. First thing I want to show you is how your customers, your prospects, your jobs are presented to you in a hierarchical fashion. So here we have 24-hour fitness, each store, each job or project or phase of project underneath it. You have the ability to resize any of these columns. You can rearrange these columns. So you can move things around. If you have a different idea of how they ought to look, it's quite easy to move these columns around to meet your needs. You can search, sort, and filter on any of these columns. It's quite easy to do that. Also, you can add or subtract columns. You'll notice I've got a lot of columns. I probably have more here than anyone would ever want, but there's a lot of information that's available in here. And again, you can double click on this particular list to open any of these forms. Now, some of these fields are also very handy for marketing and for collections and things such as that. So you'll be able to customize this form to meet your particular needs as a user. Once you make customizations to it, even the size and position of the form, Total Office Manager will remember that. And the next time you open that form, it'll be right where you left it, exactly how you wanted it, even if you log in from home. So I'm going to make this form a little bigger, and I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that you can do with a customer job list. It is easy to open this form and start typing in somebody's phone number, their address, other fields, and easily find that record. Also, you have the ability to select from any of these fields, such as a last name. Let's select last name. I'm going to type in L-E-I, Leichter, from before. I don't even have to finish typing, and the software will find every possible result. I can then narrow it down if I want to, backspace over it. I can also create complicated searches. This is our advanced filter option. Here you have the ability to select multiple fields, such as address 1, address 2. Do they own a service agreement? Yes or no. You can grab multiple fields, their service agreement. We'll make it equal to true. So yes, service agreements. And then we can set different conditions such as equal, not equal, like, starts with, ends with. We can enter criteria. We can use an and or operator. We can match case yes or no. We can give it a name and use it later. We can make it global or private to us, this particular user. So it's really easy to find exactly what you're looking for in the customer job list. Also, the customer job list allows you to create custom reports, so you can create a what you see is what you get report. You also have the ability to print mailing labels and envelopes from this particular list. One more thing that's important here is the ability to select on an individual basis or arrange. This would allow you to do bulk updating, print envelopes for just these people. You also can right-click on this list and export it to your hard drive on your computer so that you can open this information using other applications. You may also open this list up in Microsoft Excel. So here we go. Actually didn't mean to click that, but since I'm in it, let's show you what I'm talking about. Here I am in Microsoft Excel, and I'm looking at my customer job list. This is a completely editable Excel spreadsheet, so everything you know how to do in Excel should be available to you here. You can sum up data, build custom reports, add charts and graphs and pivot tables. You can have multiple sheets that connect to one another. Again, anything you want to do in Microsoft Excel, you should be able to do it with this data. Also, in many cases, you can modify this data, such as do a find and replace, things such as that, and then re-import that information into the program. Now, if I show you the menu system, you're going to quickly see that we're skipping a lot of capability and a lot of features here. There's a lot of shortcuts, bulk actions, a lot of other things that we just don't have time to get into. I'm going to close the customer job list. One thing about this software that I think makes it very easy to use, it certainly makes it rather unique, is all of the lists. So you saw the customer job list. We had that opened. There's also a list for your vendors. There's also a list for your employees. There's a list for every record set in the program. All of these lists are customizable. All of these lists can be resized, rearranged, changed to meet your needs. So it's easy to move things around, resize columns, sort, filter, build reports. All of the features I showed you earlier exist in all of our major lists. So the key here is there's a list for all the information that's important to you. You can go in and look at all your checks. You can look at your chart of accounts. You can look at all of your employees, their timesheet entries. You can look at all of your vendors, your paid bills, bills that aren't paid. You can look at credits, credit card charges. You can see items that have been received. You can look at your purchase order list. And again, I know I'm repeating myself, but all of these lists do the things that I described earlier. So here, for example, you're in your purchase order list. This is a common function in a purchase order list. Show me purchase orders that are still opened. In other words, I've ordered materials, I've ordered things, but they all haven't arrived yet. We're still waiting on parts. You can build a filter in here to show you only purchase orders that have opened items, and it's easy and quick to do. You can also export this to Excel, build reports, everything I mentioned earlier. So everything's got a list, your phone messages, your appointments, and all of these lists have the capabilities that I've been describing. As long as I have all these lists open, I know I alluded to this earlier, but do you see how many forms we have opened? Phone messages, appointments, reminder lists. You can have a lot of information up at any particular time. You can also expand these forms like I've done here, or minimize them. You can resize them, reshape them. I'm going to go ahead and start closing some of these. The next thing I want to show you is the dispatch board. Now the dispatch board, we could spend hours showing you our dispatch board. We haven't got that kind of time, so let me cover some of the basics. You can always call us and ask us, can it do this, can it do that, or you're more than welcome to sit in a live software demonstration so that you can ask all the questions that you want about this particular feature. So let's look at Bob here. Bob's a service technician. He's scheduled to go out to Lamar Donuts. Notice when I hover over this service call, a balloon pops up. I also have the ability to reshape the column, resize the column so that I can see more info. I can certainly double click and see details about this particular service call, and I see here that it's no cooling and we're supposed to replace air filters. Let's see what air filters. So here I can see we have two 25 by 25 by 2 inch air filters. I want to make sure that he has got those air filters, by the way, so we can right click on Bob and view the inventory that's in his vehicle. And he doesn't have that. So here what we've done is we've quickly seen what parts he needs to take with him, and we can right click on Bob and find out what inventory is on his vehicle. That way we don't send him out there without an air filter, because as you know, that's a few dollars worth of air filters. It's going to cost us $100 if we have to go back with those air filters later. It's easy to rearrange people's schedules, to move things around. You can reassign Lamar Donuts to somebody else just by dragging it over to that person and dropping it into their schedule, like I'm doing here. You'll notice on the left-hand side there is an unscheduled work order area. You can define what you see in here, but basically these are work orders that haven't been fully scheduled or assigned to somebody, or maybe a date and or a time hasn't been assigned to them. You're just waiting to apply those later. Let's switch to another day. I want to find a day that's not so busy. This will work. So here you simply drag work orders around. These can be service calls, they can be complete projects, they can be installations. You simply drag them around to reschedule them. If they're going to be staying late tonight, you can just expand that. If he's going to be leaving early or showing up early, you just move it accordingly. You can give this call to David, and I'm glad this popped up. What this is telling me is that David may not be capable of doing this type of work. There is a skill check feature that will help you determine if you're sending the right or the wrong service technicians on a particular call. So that's how easy it is to reschedule people. You want to give a service call to somebody, drag it over there. You want to flip to a different day, just select that day from the drop-down list and start moving things around accordingly. Now, another thing that I need to show you about this schedule board is how customizable it is. You can change the look and the feel and the behavior of this schedule board very quickly. You also can change the look of the schedule board. Here you can see we have a whole week shown. Our week starts on Monday. A week can be 5, 6, 7 days, your choice. It can start anytime you want. Your days can start and end anytime you'd like them to. You can have a month view, and everything is right clickable and double clickable. So you saw me do that earlier. No matter what view you're in, you can right click or double click. There are hundreds and hundreds of options and preferences controlling the look and the layout and the formatting. You can color code your work orders. You can color code the work order type so that a service call is one color, a callback is another, parts on order can be a completely other color. Now, another thing that's interesting about our schedule board is our profile feature. You can have as many profiles as you'd like. This would allow you to create a profile that shows you, for example, Bob only. So here I have Bob. You can see Bob. Bob's got one call today. We can flip over to new construction, see what we have going on there. Looks like we've got a couple of projects going on in new construction, and maybe I don't want them working on this, so I'm going to drag that off and we'll reschedule that for another day. And I'm going to give this to that crew. I can switch over to my salespeople, find out what they've got going on. So our salespeople, Ashley and Dan, have 5 sales calls they're running today. I can switch over to my installers only, my plumbing division, my electrical division. If your company has multiple branches, it's easy to switch from one branch to another. So these profiles are completely user definable. They can be private to you only, or you can make them global so that other people can use those profiles. The profile allows you to set up the schedule board the way you want to see it and give it a name and flip back and forth between those different profiles anytime you like. Now there's a lot more I could say about the schedule board, but I'm running short on time. Let me right click on a work order and show you some of the options. There's lots and lots of shortcuts. The rule around here for Total Office Manager is that everything important should be 3 mouse clicks or less away. So if you want to reschedule, if you want to duplicate or reoccur a work order, it needs to be right there in front of you. If you want to add a timesheet entry, it needs to be right in front of you. So here's our timesheet. By the way, the timesheet, I'd love to spend some time on it because you can see just how much you can do with a timesheet. The mobile system allows your technicians to time in and time out from a smartphone. They also can use laptops in the field to time in and time out. Let me close that. Right click. So we saw the timesheet entry. You can enter notes. You can print work orders. Now, we have templates built in for your work orders. You also can use our custom report writer, and that will allow you to create your own work order templates that can contain repair information, model numbers, serial numbers, equipment details like images, and other history. It's also easy to page, text, or email work orders to people in the field, but don't forget, if they're connected from a laptop or a smartphone, they're going to see this information automatically in real time. You also can quickly see the equipment that we're going to be working on. As you saw earlier, you can double click on equipment. You can track the status of a work order, such as scheduled, dispatched, en route, working on it, completed. You can complete it and add your timesheets automatically. You might have noticed, by the way, this has lines crossed through it. There is a preference when a work order is completed. You can either have it drop off the schedule board or you can have it locked, meaning you can't edit it, and lines are drawn through it. So that's your choice. There's lots of preferences, as I've mentioned, lots of ways to control the schedule board. So what you see here is not necessarily what you'll end up with. Now let's right click on this person and create a new invoice. You'll notice I have other options like creating or issuing a purchase order number, creating proposals, estimates. I'm going to do an invoice. Now, here's an example of the pop-up notes, maybe telling you that the dog bites, don't let the cat out, the key's under the mat. You can be warned if they're over their credit limit. You can be warned if they have past due invoices. You can even password protect people, like this guy's a deadbeat, he owes us a lot of money. The administrator can password protect this particular person so that we can't even schedule a service call without a top secret admin password. So I'm going to dismiss that. Now this was a flat rate service call, so the diagnostic fee was added automatically. Of course, we have full support for flat rate pricing. We also have full support for time material. You can do both simultaneously. Let's continue with a flat rate example. I'm going to type in a flat rate repair for a thermostat. That's Alpha Charlie Alpha Alpha 003. Hit tab. So there we have the diagnostic fee, the thermostat, wire, labor, sales tax. $319.32 is the total investment. That should match the technician's flat rate book perfectly. They can even call these codes into you, and you can run a credit card right here and get started on this invoice. Also, if you're a time and material company, of course you can just start typing in words such as labor, and you can sell, say 120 minutes of labor. You can start typing in a part number like refrigerant. Let's do R410 alpha, and I can sell 2 pounds of refrigerant. One feature that I think you'll like with the software is the ability to set pop-up notes. So here I've set up a pop-up note. If I sell a certain quantity of refrigerant, I want a note to remind all of us that we must conduct a leak search. Also, when you pick certain items, you can set the software so that a note pops up telling you something important about that particular item. Now, another nice thing about this invoice form, and this feature exists all over the software, is the lookup feature. This allows you to go in and do complicated searches and lookups for items. So let's say you see that item, you find that item, you want that item there, drop it over. Now you pick this one and maybe pick a whole range of items, drop it over. You could also be using a barcode scanner right now if you wanted to, but this allows you to build complicated invoices, purchase orders, sales proposals. Anywhere there's an item selector, you'll see this feature. And again, you could be using a barcode scanner to quickly do this. When you're ready, you click OK, and it will drop all of those items on whatever form you're working on. And you can see here I have a rather busy invoice with lots of items on it. You can see as I scroll here. We can also expand the item grid. So there's a lot of items on here. Let me show you around as long as we're looking at all these items. Now you can rearrange columns. You can add or subtract columns like you saw earlier. These forms are usually very customizable. You can dumb down the form if that's the right term, meaning you can remove a lot of features from this very intense form, invoice form. You can remove a lot of these features if you want to make it simpler and easier to use. But look at some of the fields that you have. You can see cost, how much you pay, what you sell them for. You can see the markup method. You can have as many markup methods as you'd like. You can have markup methods by customer, so you can have gross profit targets by customer. You can select what department each item belongs to. Unlike other software, departmentalization is on a line item basis, not one department per invoice, but potentially multiple departments, one department per line item, or you can select a global department as we've done up here. You also can select what warehouse the item is coming from. Now the reason why this is handy is this might have been truck 101 that came to the warehouse and took a part, or maybe another vehicle dropped a part off. It's easy for you to relieve inventory from the correct place. You can have a tax item or multiple tax items per line item on an invoice. You can have multiple tax codes. You can even select, and I really like this feature, you can come in here and select what piece of equipment each item you sold belongs to. So if you sold a gas valve, pick the furnace. If you sold a contactor, then you can pick the condensing unit. Maybe you sold a T&P, then pick the water heater. This gives you fantastic tracking of the history of each piece of equipment. Imagine being able to go into the software, grab a model number, select the serial number, and print out or view on the screen a list of every item that went into that model number and serial number. Finally, this is the serial number item selector right here. Now, I also can do some advanced things if I want to. I can add or subtract fields for accounting people. We could actually add selectors here that would give your accounting people the opportunity to override the default income COGS or asset account, override the default AR account. So there's a lot of advanced features that can be added to this particular form that I don't have turned on at the moment. Now let me show you the menu button, and I got to move on. There's a lot of things we're skipping. You can memorize transactions in Total Office Manager. You can repeat them. You can duplicate many of them. You can set up templates, for example, and then use that template later on so that if you're selling a certain list of items, you can save this and use it later. You can also assign multiple hours, multiple technicians, and multiple work orders to a single invoice. Very unusual. Total Office Manager will also calculate automatically sales commissions on all your sales. This would give you the opportunity to edit those commissions. We also track reimbursable items and expenses and labor, including labor. This gives you a list of everything that you've ever bought for this particular project or job or service call. It also would give you a list of all the labor that's been entered for it. We also offer third-party billing. This gives you, without some weird workaround, this gives you the ability to bill a customer, say, $69, and send the balance of it to a factory or an extended warranty company or your supplier. So, a lot of advanced features. Many things I'm skipping here. Again, if you see that this is something you're interested in, then be sure to sit in a live sales demonstration where you can ask all the questions you'd like and see exactly what the program can do. A couple more things I want to show you before we're done here. Let's go to reports. Let's do Let's do an income statement. Everybody's going to want to see an income statement. You can print out multiple columns. You can have multiple periods. You can compare multiple columns, multiple periods to one another. One thing that's really unique about our income statements is the ability to print income statements by employee. So you can go in and pick a service technician and print an income statement just for that service tech. You also have the ability to print out income statements for your, say, commercial division, residential division. You can set this up, by the way, any way you'd like. This is how I set it up. I have a commercial division, each with its own departments, such as service agreements. I have a residential division, install, new construction, service work, service agreements, and even warranty work. You have the ability to either combine all of them or print them out separately. That's fairly unusual. You're not going to see that in too many software programs. Anyway, let's click Preview. Now the software is pretty fast. Most of these reports are created very quickly. That's what I wanted to do. Let's do that again. Alright, so you can see the speed of the program. What I printed earlier was a departmentalized income statement. I actually wanted to print out a combined income statement so it's a little easier to look at. Here is a common income statement. You're probably very familiar with this format. You do have some control over the look and the layout of your income statement. Also, you have the ability to double click on most of these things to get details. So here I double clicked on the $48,000. I wanted to see where that number came from, and this 11-page report shows us where that number came from right there. Also, you have the ability to magnify any of these reports like I'm doing here. This is not just in the demo. And you have the ability to convert any of these reports into PDF, Crystal reports, HTML, Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, so they can become a completely editable Word document. This shows up in Microsoft Word automatically when you click that link. Let's go back to the drill down feature. One thing the drill down feature does that is very handy is allows you to go all the way down to the original record that started it all. So I double clicked on an invoice. Here's an invoice that was saved earlier, and for those of you who do accounting, it actually goes one step further. I can drill down into the general journal and see all the general ledger activity for this particular transaction. And as you might know, that includes accounts, account types, transaction types, debits, credits, balances at the time, has it cleared our bank yet, departments that it belongs to. It doesn't get any more detailed than this. This is the heart of the accounting engine. So everything that happened within the accounting engine underneath this particular transaction is listed for you here. So it really just doesn't get any better than that as far as drill down capability. All right, I'm going to close that invoice, close this. Next, let's quickly cover inventory. I'm going to open up the inventory list and show you around. Lots of different ways to get there. I'm going to sort by quantity sold. Let's grab refrigerant. And by the way, this is a highly customizable list as well. Just like the other lists you saw, you can customize this list, create custom reports, etc. You can add or subtract columns. Let's double click on this. This is refrigerant. We can see that a material safety data sheet is required. The law says these must be readily accessible, quote unquote. This is pretty darned accessible. You can create a document link for material safety data sheets. In the case of other items, it could be sales literature, schematic diagrams, technical information, but this would allow you to track material safety data sheets for refrigerant and other chemicals. There is also an excellent history button. Notice how everything's got history. This shows you everyone that's ever bought refrigerant from you, how many pounds of refrigerant they bought, or ounces, however you want to track it. You'll know how much they paid. You'll know who you bought it from. There's a complete history of everyone you've ever bought refrigerant from, how much you bought, how much you paid, when it was delivered, etc. This history button is just like the history button you've seen elsewhere in the demo. It shows you everything in the database that can possibly be associated with that particular record. You can also have an image. In fact, you can have as many images as you'd like and other documents. Anything that can fit on your computer's hard drive, you can drag it and drop it on this form and keep track of it. Another thing I wanted to show you is the advanced item alias feature. This gives you the ability to set up a master part number and then enter the part number for every vendor you buy the item from. So you can have all the various part numbers from each one of your suppliers. When you go to print out a purchase order, it will use their item number. When you go to look it up, you can look it up by their item number or your item number. Another thing, when you buy, for example, a pipe fitting from Home Depot, it's probably going to have a barcode on it. Using Total Office Manager's item alias feature, you will be able to scan their barcode, and the system will recognize that you bought a pipe fitting from Home Depot. It'll know what the pipe fitting is and automatically enter the item into the system for you. Now, there's a lot more we could say about inventory, just a few other things, and then I'm going to move on. It's easy to go into the system and find out how much you have on hand, what your reorder points are, is there any on order, do you have some on back order, for example. This also gives you the ability to see how much of this particular item is on each one of your trucks, each one of your warehouses. You can have an unlimited number of warehouses, business locations, and vehicles, and you'll quickly know how much is on hand. From here, you can also order more of this particular item with a couple of mouse clicks, and you can adjust the quantity very quickly as well. Finally, I wanted to show you something about security. Let's go to the user list. You have the ability to lock out anyone very quickly, anytime you want to. You can change their password. You can have their password expire on a regular basis. The program does enforce strong passwords. Now, here is really the meat of this thing. You can see that there is a section called banking, and there's a list of forms. That matches the menu called banking. There's a section here called, for example, customer. That matches the menu customers. You are given a complete list of every form and every report in the program. You decide who can open, view, add, edit, void, inactivate, or delete from any form, any record. You have full control over what people can see and do in the office or in the field. And remember, everything that they do is written out to that audit trail that we talked about a little bit earlier. The audit trail is always on. It keeps track of every footstep users take in the software. It records the date, the time, the event, the username, the computer name, the record they were in, and more information. If they're doing anything that the software would deem unusual, such as backdating, postdating, deleting bank deposits, deleting customers, it will also give you extra information about that as well. So that's just the surface of the software. We haven't talked at all about payroll or job costing or the fixed asset manager. There are dozens, hundreds of other things that we could have talked about. If you have questions or interest in the software, give us a call. Get signed up for one of our free live software demonstrations, and that'll give you the ability to ask all the questions you want about the program and find out if Total Office Manager is really right for you. Thank you.